Tam Talks explores life, spirituality, and general weirdness through quirky storytelling and laughter, lighting you up in your life journey. Let's go! All right, I'm going to do a little episode about Alberta. So, I visited Alberta last weekend with a friend of mine who we knew, like our sons were friends in elementary school, and we lived in the same town in Ontario before she moved out there, which I believe has been like 5 years. And she's also the friend who we met down in Costa Rica for her 50th birthday. And then her family, my family met in Hawaii last year for vacation together. We always have these fun adventures. And we jokingly said, okay, well, where are we going next year after this visit? So it was so relaxing. I went from a Thursday night until a Sunday night. So just like an extra kind of long weekend visit. And my friend lives kind of in the Calgary area. So we went down to the south of the province. So I've been to Alberta once before, which was Calgary on like a conference when I was with Arbonne. And we had a great time, but we just stayed strictly in Calgary. So I didn't see the Rockies or do any of those things. I just was in the city. So I was super excited to go hiking and just see the mountains and the land. So our first full day, we drove, I think, a couple of hours south to a place where she was putting her trailer that has the most incredible view. So this is more, we're driving and it's just fields. It's how I picture Saskatchewan. So it just looks like fields, 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 but off in the distance you can see like a line of the Rockies. And as we got to the area where her trailer would be set up, you could still see the Rockies kind of in the distance, but not quite as far. So a little more visible, but beautiful. Like, just the Rockies are impressive. It is absolutely insane. And so we spent the day setting up, getting her trailer parked and kind of exploring around this trailer area. And it was the end of April, which we figured would be not winter anymore. And it was actually super warm, like in the teens, almost 20 degrees. It actually felt like it was 20 degrees plus. Like, I don't know what the temperature would, but anyways, it wasn't, but it felt like it. So the view, oh my gosh, from where her trailer is. If you have not been to the Rockies, you need to go to some part of the Rockies. Anyways, so then we got that all situated, and then we went down to, it's called Waterton. It's like I guess called the Peace Park, Waterton Peace Park. And you are right in the Rockies there. And this park is so far south that when you walk up and you see the lake and the mountains that are surrounding it, the lake is partially American. So it's part of Montana. Like the boundary runs through this park, Peace Park. So we kind of walked around there, took some photos, but my friend kept saying, she was like, I have never seen the water on that lake so still. There were no ripples. It looked like a glass reflection. It was insanely gorgeous. And the mountains were huge. And as we pulled up, I was like, what? I don't understand. So there was a fire there, I think she said in 2018. So quite a while ago, but a couple of the mountains were like barren. So there was no green. It was just because the fire had burnt everything. And when you look at other mountains and see how full they are with trees, it puts it into perspective how empty and just weird it looked. But it was gorgeous, but also very interesting to think that it had been, 7 years? We're thinking I should look it up to get my dates properly. If not, feel free to look up 2025 to when the Waterton fires were, because it looked like it has happened recently because there's no regrowth. Then it just shows you the devastation of forest fires. Never mind the effect on life, So, okay, put that aside. There was like a lodge that is only open seasonally, but it's Swiss. Like the design is Swiss. So oh my gosh. And then it overlooks that big reflective lake that I was talking about. But I couldn't even stop taking pictures. The beauty is absolutely insane. And I love traveling, and I love, Hawaii and Bali, and I love so many places around this world. And to think that that was just a short flight away, it's just the mountains are enormous. And the wildlife. So we went taking all these pictures, and then we went for a walk. And as we are passing, we're in like the little village area. So it's not like nothing was open. So again, it's like the end of April. Nothing is open except for one little store that was like a convenience store / ice cream shop. Anyways, on the way in, there's kind of like we're walking next to the lake, but then there's people's cottages on the other side. There's people walking. There's like a interlocking trail. I think it was interlocking, or unless it was dirt. But anyways, it was like a trail, a groomed walkway for people because you're in the town. Well, we're walking along, and there to the left are deer just standing there, hanging out, just snacking on the grass, looking around. We weren't sure if they were deer or elk at first because they were really big. We later learned that they were deer. But so anyways, we kind of walked around, went into the visitor center, and then we walked along the water, got some ice cream. It was beautiful. People were like in the water. And then we passed, there's this gorgeous waterfall. Anyways, then we kind of looped back to head back up to the parking lot where we had parked the car by the Swiss resort or hotel, whatever it's called. On the way, so we're walking along, it's just a residential road. So again, people's front lawns. There's another deer like curled up, just laying there, just having a nap on someone's front lawn. Well, not even napping because the head was up, like watching us. Oh, and that's kind of, I just had a moment because I don't know if I've included this in any of my podcasts, but I remember coming home here where I live a few months back, and I guess a deer had been hit, and the deer was laying in the exact same position. It was like you couldn't see their legs, like they were just tucked under, but the head was up like watching. But the deer here had been hit. And when I pulled over to see, there were already people pulled over, but there was like blood hanging from its nose. It was horrible. Like the deer was clearly was dying. So when I just thought of this, I'm like, oh, that's nice. I got to see the one that was just full of life and relaxing. So that's kind of like a nice rewrite. Anyways, so we see that one, and then we keep walking, and I see two animals that were like whitish color, and I'm like, what in the heck are those? They looked like the size of donkeys, but I feel like taller and a little bit slimmer. They were mountain goats. I've only ever seen like little farm goats that are super cute, but these were huge. And again, they're just walking on someone's front yard, snacking on the grass. And they were very alert, like they're looking at us, and my friend's talking away to them, and which is just normal. That's what we do. Anyway, so we kind of just passed. We gave them a little wide because they were right next to the sidewalk. So we walked around, took a berth on the road because I don't know. I'm not going to get attacked or flippin' rammed by a goat. So anyways, that was cool. So then that was kind of our day, and then we drove back up, stayed overnight at my friend's place, and then the next morning we headed out in the direction of Banff. Oh my gosh, we stopped in Kananaskis and Canmore, and what was that lake called? There was a lake. Oh, it's right near Banff. It'll come to me. And if it doesn't, you could find it easily enough. But we didn't get out of the car and hike or anything at the lake. We just kind of drove and looked at it. It was gorgeous. But yeah, so we adventured around Kananaskis, Canmore, and just kind of took it all in, like the mountains. So at this point, we're in the middle of the mountains. So once you kind of drive in, it's like, oh, welcome to Banff. And oh my gosh, mountains everywhere, huge mountains. So we went for, and it was also like it's spring, so you have to carry, well, you don't have to, but you want to carry bear spray because the animals are all kind of getting active. Bears are coming out of hibernation and they're hungry. So yeah, we went for a little walk around Kananaskis, which was beautiful. There's so many amazing photos and just so few people. It was just relaxing. And my friend and I had really good heart-to-heart talks during our drives. It was just amazing. And then we stopped in Canmore, which is this cool little, I want to call it resort town because it feels like ski town, very kind of like trendy, but I don't know how else to describe it. But the interesting part about all the places we visited was that the rivers were really low. So you could see like the river rock, the bed, the base of it in areas where the water should be there. So in Canmore, there's like this boardwalk that runs through the middle of what I believe should be water, but it was not. It was dried and kind of like grassy. It was very strange. But anyways, lots of condos there, and it's right on the highway. So when Andrea was figuring out where we were going to stay for the night, she was like, yeah, I don't know if we want to stay. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to stay right next to a highway either. So we had chosen Banff for the night. So anyways, we hung out in Canmore and looked around. Oh yeah, we went to this, like a crystal shop, and I got an amazing deck, an oracle card deck. Oh my gosh, I love it. Earth Energy, I think it's called, or Earth Friends, something like that. And then I got the book Women Who Run with Wolves because I keep hearing about it, and I was like, yeah. And then it was right there with the oracle cards, and I'm like, yes, that is what I'm getting. So I did. Anyway, so we after that moved on, and we drove past, oh, what is the name? I thought I would remember the name of the lake. Darn it. It's okay. So we drove kind of a little bit past, so where you would turn to go into Banff, we went the opposite way and went to this lake area. But one of the roads was, there's like a loop that you would drive, and I guess one part of the loop you could only enter the one way, and the other part was blocked off. So we couldn't figure out if it was like you're also an avalanche region. So I don't know if it was that or if it was just because there's more animal activity. Maybe there were a lot on the road. I have no idea. Maybe they're just doing work on the road. Who knows? So we drove around the other way, and oh my gosh, this gorgeous lake. I feel like there's two M's, maybe and a K. I don't know. And yeah, so we drove and took some photos and then came back. And anyways, we arrived in Banff, and Banff is my jam. Oh my gosh. It was so fun. Oh, I forgot the night before this, we went into downtown Calgary, into this kind of like trendy part of Calgary, but not like right downtown. I don't know what the section was, but it was full of like tons of different types of food and restaurants and people, and there were patios and music, and it was awesome. It was very multicultural. It was beautiful. And Andrea got food at this Japanese place where we ate. Oh, it was great. Anyway, sorry, that was like, I forgot about that. So back to Banff. See, because I went to food. So, oh, I forgot. Okay, anyways. So we got to Banff, got settled into our hotel room, opened up and checked out our view, pulled some oracle cards because why not? And then we went and found this rooftop patio and had lunch. Yes, lunch there. I was like, was it dinner? I think it was lunch. Was it dinner? I don't know. Anyways, I got nachos, of course. beautiful. Like, I can't even tell you the view. You're just sitting on this rooftop patio looking at these insane mountains. So yeah, we had this beautiful, and the weather was still warm. We went for a walk after, and we walked along the river, another low river, interestingly enough. There were rapids, so it wasn't that low in that part. But we made our way over to the Banff Springs Hotel. Oh my gosh. I'm adding that to my bucket list to stay there, actually. There was a wedding going on, and then I think like a special event. Maybe it was all just one wedding, I don't know. But we were walking around, and then we went to the haunted bathroom. And oh my gosh, there was a really cute, what is he called? The concierge, I think. He's outside welcoming people. I took a photo from a distance because he was dressed as a cowboy. So I was like, oh, that's just funny. That's just so Alberta. But when we started talking to him, he was Australian. And I was like, oh, meow. Anyways, we did talk to him a little bit, but I didn't, yeah, whatever. It's not me. I'm not, yeah. Anyways, so we kind of wandered around, checked out the hotel, and then we hiked our way back because it was quite the hike. I mean, not a super far hike. Okay, my dog is in the background. I didn't just fart. He's just groaning over there. So anyways, we stopped at this, oh, what is that? It's like a, I can't remember what it's called. The something gardens. I feel like level plateau gardens. I don't know. But it's like this beautiful garden space in this old building. Was it like an armory? I can't remember. But from the distance, so you can walk up and there's, I mean, I'm sure when the flowers are out and the gardens are full, it's even more beautiful, but you could walk up there and then look down on one of the main streets of Banff. Oh my gosh. And it was just a beautiful view. So we kind of hung out there, took some photos, and then we walked around a bit. There was some sort of street festival going. And then we were pretty tired because we were doing over 20,000 steps each day. And we weren't even really full out hiking. Like, we were doing a lot of driving with these, but that day was just straight up walking. It was so fun. So anyways, we went back to our hotel and sat down in the courtyard where there was like a fireplace, Muskoka chairs, these heated lamps. There was a sauna, a couple of hot springs, but like man-made ones. But we just kind of hung out, and then until it was time to go to sleep because we were both exhausted. And yeah, and then we went to sleep. I had such a great sleep. The bed was so comfy. I even woke myself up snoring. I don't know. I was like, oh gosh, I hope I don't wake Andrea up. Anyways, so yeah, the next morning we kind of woke up and it was 2 degrees. So bye-bye to that beautiful spring-like weather. But we were heading back and I was flying home that night. So we just had a nice relaxing walk. We had a buffet breakfast and I went and got some gifts for the boys and my mom. And yeah, we just kind of did a last walk around and then we drove back. We took a nice relaxing ride back and we stopped at, oh, what was it called? Tunnel Mountain on the way out, which is just outside of Banff. And the whole time I was there, I was like, I wonder if we're going to see a bear. Like, not at Tunnel Mountain, just the whole trip. I was like, I wonder if we're going to see a bear. They have grizzlies and black bears there. Anyways, so we go to this place called Tunnel Mountain because we were debating going up the gondola, but then when we woke up, it was all cloudy and we're like, okay, we're not spending $70 to go to the top for an 8-minute ride up the mountain to look at clouds and then take another 8-minute ride down. Like, I think that's ridiculous. So anyways, but Andrea's like, oh, there's a place where you basically can drive like a good way up the mountain. So you've got a really nice view. That's a little bit higher than being kind of at the bottom of the mountains. So that was this Tunnel Mountain. So we went there and nobody's there. And there's basically, the best way to describe it is like you're walking on the edge of a mountain with, it felt like almost like a boardwalk. Like there's a railing because you're up pretty high and there's just one one trail, and then behind you is like the rest of like just the mountain, but it's kind of like a hill. Like you can still, there would be places that people could walk around, but you do have this amazing view, and there's a bunch of lookouts. So it wasn't like an extensive hike we were going to walk for, because that's what I was like, okay, what do I need to bring? Like, do we need all the things? Andrea's like, I'm bringing the bear spray because you are quite a bit in there. Anyways, so we start walking, and it would be maybe 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back type thing. So we start walking, and we're just looking at this, oh my gosh, view, like insane views. And then Andrea's like, oh, look, those are hoodoos. I think that's what they're called, hoodoos. So they're rock formations that look, I want to say they look like statues of, what are those called? The Moans or something? Moans? Easter Island there. That's probably a better way of, without me trying to pronounce it. Anyways, so it looks like these big, which those are stones, but this is like, it looks almost like dirt or like sandstone, like it's a light. Anyways, those were down below, and they were gigantic, and they looked like statues of people. It was really neat. So anyways, we're like taking pictures and walking, and then we get along to this one part, which is a lookout. It reminds me of Crawford Lake in Milton, where I used to live, where you get to certain lookouts, and it's almost like you're boxed in by this lookout. Like you kind of enter by a little path. I don't know if this makes sense, but you've got the guard, like those wooden railings almost all the way around, like enclosing you. So it's like your own little picnic area type thing, but it's not, and there's like benches. So anyways, we're just looking out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and we're looking at the view. And as we were approaching this, I was thinking to myself, I wonder how many animals are up in that area just watching people, and people don't even notice because this view is so immense that they don't even, they're just so captivated. So anyways, within 5 minutes that I have that thought, we're at this little lookout area, and Andrea's like, oh my gosh, there's something up there. And I look, and it's the color of, so when you see a picture, like a stereotypical picture of a grizzly bear, when their back is like that golden kind of yellowy color, and then the undercoat and kind of like lower belly and legs are like a dark brown. Yeah, that's what we saw. And I'm looking, and she's like, well, what is it? And I'm like, I don't know, but it was kind of like in the distance and camouflaged in enough that you couldn't fully see the shape. And I'm like, oh boy. So we look closer, and I'm like, oh no, because its face was like longer. It wasn't a bear face. It looked like a moose. And I'm from Northern Ontario, so I'm pretty good at what a moose looks like. And then so we're looking at it, and she's like, is it looking at us? And it's staring right at us. And I'm like, yep. But I'm like, I don't know if it is a moose. So there's no antlers, number one. It is huge. The body is huge, but the legs, it wasn't super tall. So anyways, we're staring at this. Anyways, it's looking at us, and Andrea's doing her pacing thing where she kind of like walks in circles. And she's like, okay, well, and I'm like, okay. So I just slowly sit down on the bench, which is kind of partially covered by the tree. I'm like, yeah, we'll just sit here calmly for a minute. It's so fun. Anyways, so then Andrea's like, is it still looking at us? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay. I'm like, just stay calm. Anyway, so then it just ignores us and starts eating again. So then, of course, I start my mad Googling. I'm like, okay, what is this thing? Because it literally looks like a moose. At least I was relieved. I know I wanted to see a bear, but when we were that close to this being, like whatever it was that was not a bear that could rip us to shred in mere moments, I was very relieved, because I thought if that was a bear and if it chose to approach us, we were pretty screwed. Thankfully, we had the bear spray, but we were in this little lookout area. Like we were kind of trapped, and Andrea's like, well, I was going to go on the other side of the barrier. I'm like, well, that's a drop off down, I don't know how many hundreds, maybe thousands of feet. So we were hooped. So anyways, I Googled, I'm pretty sure it was a Roosevelt elk. And it was gorgeous. So we kind of just hung out, and it was drizzling and stuff at this point. There's nobody around. And so we a combination of looking at this elk that we are, I don't know, 10, 20 feet from. Would it be 20 feet? Maybe 25 feet. And the view. So we kind of wait until it's distracted, because the way we had to go back the way we came. So it's kind of above us, that 20 to 25 feet. But we would have to cross back through its like line of vision. And if it decided to charge, like, I don't even know. So we were like, okay, well, we'll just stay calm and quiet. And so then we just walked calmly back past. Of course, I'm taking pictures and video, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then we saw a couple who was coming the opposite direction. So I told them, I was like, just so you know, there's an elk right up there. So we saw them kind of climbing up to see it from this other angle. And when I looked back, there were actually 2 elk. So I don't know. We left. We were like, okay, peace out. Anyway, so it was beautiful, because that was like the last taste of the Rocky Mountains, was that experience. And it was super up close, and it was super peaceful. And then as I looked into it later, apparently those are the largest type of elk, and they can be aggressive. So whatever. It was funny reading it while we were in the car, safe and sound. And yeah, then we made our way back into Calgary, just to like hang out before my flight, and just that last look at the mountains. But what a refreshing energy in Alberta if you are looking for a super scenic place to explore within Canada. Oh my word, the Rocky Mountains. I've never been, I've always changed planes in BC. I would like to see BC because it's on the ocean, and I love the ocean. But Alberta is stunning. I didn't make it up to Lake Louise or Jasper. That's where we were going to go. But Banff, I flippin' love. It is just a wonderful vibe. So anyways, that's my Alberta podcast. So come and explore Canada, especially Alberta. There are tons of beautiful places to see. And yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out and listening to my wild and wacky Tam Talks. Follow Tam Talks to be notified of new episodes. Peace out!